प्यारा है। मुनियों को मन मोहन राम, मन ही मन क्यों करे प्रणाम। मुनियों को मन मोहन राम, मन ही मन क्यों करे प्रणाम। रघुपति राघव रघुपति राघव राजा राम, पतित पावन सीताराम। कहाँ लक्ष्मण कहाँ लक्ष्मण कहाँ सीता, रघुनाथ प्यारा है। जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम, जानकी वलन सीताराम। जय रघुनंदन जय सिया राम, जानकी वलन सीताराम। जय रघुनंदन जय रघुनंदन जय घनश्याम, जाओ 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 रामा, जाओ जाओ रे अयोध्या राम, सभी पार नाम रे राम, सभी पार नाम रे राम, सभी। जाओ 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 रामा, जाओ जाओ रे अयोध्या राम, सभी पार नाम रे राम, सभी पार नाम रे। कब से
mấy giờ mới vào? श्री गणेशाय नमः। श्री सरस्वती नमः। श्री गुरुचरणा कमलभ्यो नमः। ॐ गं गणपतिये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतिये नमः। ॐ गं गणपतिये नमः। गुरु ब्रह्मा गुरु विष्णु गुरुदेवो महेश्वरा। गुरु साक्षात् परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। सिद्धि विनायक मंगलदाता। सिद्धि विनायक मंगलदाता। अष्ट विनायक मंगलदायक मंगलमूर्ति मोरया। अष्ट विनायक मंगलदायक मंगलमूर्ति मोरया। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। सिंदूर वदना पंकज रमना। सिंदूर वदना पंकज रमना। सिंदूर वदना पंकज रमना गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। सिंदूर वदना पंकज रमना गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। जय गणनायक श्री गणनायक गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। मंगलमूर्ति मोरया गणपति बाप्पा मोरया। मंगलमूर्ति मोरया। मेरे मन वीरा की तारे हर पल शिव का नाम पुकारे। मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन। जब भोले का नाम प्रेम से सुबह हो शाम। शिव की भक्ति में होगी मगन। मेरे मन वीरा की तारे हर पल शिव का नाम पुकारे। मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन। जब भोले का नाम प्रेम से सुबह हो शिव का नाम पुकारे, मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन। मैं सेवक वो मेरे स्वामी, मेरे शिव अंतर्यामी। ये जीवन कंचन काया, सब है मेरी शिव की माया। शिव मेरे साथ है, दिन है या रात है। शिव मेरे साथ है, दिन है या रात है। जाओ हर पल में शिव की भजन, मेरे मंदिर की कार, हर पल शिव का नाम पुकारे, मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन। जब भोले का नाम प्रेम से सुबह हो शाम, जब भोले का नाम प्रेम से सुबह हो शाम, शिव की भक्ति में होते मगन। मेरे मंदिर की कार, हर पल शिव का नाम पुकारे, मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन। ओ लगन, मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन। ओ लगन, मैंने शिव से लगाई लगन।
We join in the expressions of welcome.
Sitaram, everyone. To our dear and beloved Pandit Sunil Sitaram Maharaj, we say welcome. To our Pandit Satnarayan Maharaj, we say welcome as well. To the many people who have come here today, and to the many people who are viewing and listening via the various media houses, we say welcome. We want to say take the next 9 nights and dedicate some time to this Gyan Yagna, where we can give our souls some food as well, to make a deposit in the spiritual bank as well. Do sit back, enjoy. One other thing, we have been blessed to have all parts of our body, hands, all parts, so let's utilize it to do some clapping and singing as well as we follow on with the various bhajans. Sitaram, thank you.
Ram 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 bole,
राम 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 भोले,
ram 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 bole,
राम 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 भोले,
ram bole, ram bole,
राम भोले, राम भोले,
ram bole, ram bole,
राम भोले, राम भोले,
ram 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 bole,
राम 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 भोले,
ram 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 bole.
राम 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 भोले,
Rama Rama Sukha Rama, Rama Rama Dukha Rama,
राम राम सुख रामा, राम राम दुख रामा,
Rama Rama Sukha Rama, Rama Rama Dukha Rama,
राम राम सुख रामा, राम राम दुख रामा,
रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले,
रम 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 राम बोले,
राम 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 बोले,
हरे रामा हरे रामा, रमा रामा हरे हरे,
हरे रामा 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 हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे,
हरे रामा रमा रामा हरे हरे,
हरे रामा 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 हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे,
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे,
हरे रामा रमा रामा हरे हरे,
हरे रामा 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 हरे हरे,
उमापति महादेव की जय, पवन सुत हनुमान की जय, अयोध्या राम लला की जय, वृंदावन कृष्ण चंद्र की जय, पूरे सा जगन्नाथ की जय, बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय, सियापति रामचंद्र की जय, शरणम। करा हो जाए आरती लीजिए, मेरा सोल प्लीज stand as we join in the opening आरती। शुभम करोतु कल्याणम आरोग्यम सुखसंपरम, मम शत्रु विनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोस्तुते, सिद्धि बुद्धि प्रदे देवी भुक्ते मुक्ते प्रदायने, मंत्र मूर्ते सदा देवी महालक्ष्मी नमोस्तुते, ओम यानि कानि च पापानि जन्मन्तर्कृतानिश्च तानि तानि प्रक्षण प्रदे प्रदे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे, भक्त जनों के संकट दास जनों के संकट तन में दूर करे, ओम जय जगदीश हरे, पल पावे दुख बिन से मन का,
स्वामी दुख बिन से मन का,
सुख संपत्ति घर आवे,
सुख संपत्ति घर आवे,
कष्ट मिटे तन का,
ओम जय जगदीश हरे,
माता पिता तुम मेरे, शरण कहो किसकी,
स्वामी
जिसके।
ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
तुम पूरन परमात्मा, तुम अंतरयामी।
स्वामी तुम अंतरयामी।
पार ब्रह्मा परमेश्वर,
पार ब्रह्म परमेश्वर।
तुम सबके स्वामी।
ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
तुम हो एक गोचर, सबकी प्राणपति।
स्वामी सबके प्राणपति।
किस विधि मिलो दया में,
इस विधि मिलो दया में।
तुमको मैं कुमति।
ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
विषय विकार मिटाओ, पाप हरो देवा।
स्वामी पाप हरो देवा।
श्रद्धा भक्ति बराओ,
श्रद्धा प्रेम चढ़ाओ।
संतन की सेवा।
ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
जय जगदीश हरे। स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, जन में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
ओम जय जगदीश हरे। स्वामी जय जगदीश हरे। भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, जन में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा।
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा।
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा।
नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य सद्गुरुदेवा।
नारायण भगवान की जय। आसन पर बैठे, let us all please be seated. My humblest adorations at the lotus-like feet of Sri Pandit Satnarayan Ji, who has performed worship most diligently this evening. To all Brahman Devatas, I bow at your lotus-like feet. To one of my Vidya Gurus, I'm privileged this evening to see present with us one of my secondary school teachers, a teacher who taught me. Now I'm kind of frightened this evening. She taught Hindi, and so she's here with us this evening, and so I bow at your lotus-like feet. Matri Devabha, Srimati Chandraji, behind the post. I can't see her from where I am. To all of those who are listening and to all of those who are viewing, we say welcome. To our kind and corporate sponsors, we express sentiments of gratitude and expressions of thanks. And so this evening, as we prepare our minds and our souls to listen to the beautiful katha, Hat Jot Binti Karo, let us bow our heads in prayer. Hari Om, Hari Om, Hari विघ्नेश्वराय वरदाय सुरप्रियाय लंबोदराय सकलाय जगद्धिताय नागाश्रुत्यज्ञ विभूषिताय गौरीसुताय गणनाथ नमो नमस्ते। वक्रतुंडा महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभा निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देवा सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा। सरस्वती नमस्तुभ्यं वरदे कामरूपिणी विद्यारम्भं करिष्यामि सिद्धिर्भवतु मे सदा। या पुण्येतु तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्रवस्त्रविता या वीणावरदण्डमन्दरकरा या श्वेतपरमासना या ब्रह्माच्युतार शंकरा प्रभृतिवी देवे सरावन्दिता सा मां पाप्तु सरस्वती भगवती निशेषजाड्यापं वन्दे देव उमापतिं सुरगुरुं वन्दे जगत्कारणं वन्दे पन्नगभूषणं मृगमदा वन्दे पशूनापतिं वन्दे सूरशशाङ्कराङ्गरेणं वन्दे मुकुन्द प्रियं वन्दे भक्तजनार्दन कपिधर वन्दे शिवाशङ्करं त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमेव बन्धनात् मृत्योर्मुच्यमामृतात्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णु गुरुर्देवो महेश्वर गुरुर्साक्षात् परब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरुवे नमः। Using the dust of the lotus-like feet of Guru, I cleanse the mirror of my ignorant mind. Guide me onto the pathway of salvation. I beg of you, listen to my prayer. Sri Guru Charan Saroj Raja Nij Man Mukur Sudar Barno Raghuvar Vimanayasha बोधहीन तनु जानिके सुमिरो पवन कुमार बलभूत विद्या देहु मोहि हरहु कलेश विकार सियापति रामचंद्र जी की जय शरणम। हंसं साई विद्मे परमं साई धीमहि तन्नो हंसा प्रचोदयात्। We glorify Devi Mata. जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय। बेहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय। जग जननी जय जय। माँ जग जननी जय जय। बेहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय। तू ही सतचित सुख में शुद्ध ब्रह्मा रूपा। माँ हो माँ, माँ हो माँ। तू ही सतचित सुख में शुद्ध ब्रह्मा रूपा। सत्य सनातन सुंदर पर शिव सुर भूपा। जग जननी जय जय। माँ जग जननी जय जय। बेहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय।
जग जननी जय जय। माँ जग जननी जय जय। भयहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय।
आदि अनादि में अविचल अविनाशी। माँ हो माँ, माँ हो माँ। आदि अनादि में अविचल अविनाशी। अमलयनन्तय गोचना अजय नन्दनासी। जग जननी जय जय। माँ जग जननी जय जय। बेहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय।
जग जननी जय जय। माँ जग जननी जय जय। भयहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय।
प्रकृति विद्या तू जननी की जय माँ हो माँ हो माँ मूल प्रकृति विद्या तू जननी राम कृष्ण तु सीता ब्रज रानी राधा जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय बेहारिणी भवतारिणी भव स्वामिनी जय जय
जग जननी जय जय ओ मां जग जननी जय जय भयहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय
निज स्वभाव से जननी दया दृष्टि कीजे माँ हो माँ हो माँ निज स्वभाव से जननी दया दृष्टि करुणा कर करुणामयी चरण शरण कीजे जग जननी जय जय माँ जग जननी जय जय बेहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय
जग जननी जय जय ओ मां जग जननी जय जय भयहारिणी भवतारिणी भवभामिनी जय जय
This evening, I want you to clap your hands and I want you to sing with me. And as we make a joyful noise unto Bhagwan, one of the greatest forms of worship is kirtan. By clapping and singing, we purify our very existence in this world. We expel all our negative energies. And so we pray to Bhagwan, may you be pleased with us. For every scripture and every religion has declared that where 1 and 2 and 3 come with the intention and the purpose of worship, God, Bhagwan himself will come. And so this evening, as we invoke, we invite the presence of Bhagwan to come. We bring to you the sacrifices of our praises. We bring to you the sacrifices of our love this evening. Accept them. We bow to you again and again. Listen to our prayer. Listen to our prayer. Let us sing together. चित चोदा यशोदा की बात नवनीत चोरे गोपाल चोदा यशोदा की बात नवनीत चोरे गोपाल
चोरा यशोदा की बात नवनीत चोरे गोपाल
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
चित जोता यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
चित जोरा यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे गोपी गोपी बाला। गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे मुरली ज्ञान लोला।
गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे गोपी गोपी बाला। गोविंद हरे गोपाल हरे, हे मुरली गान लोला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला, जय जय गिरिधर गोपाला।
चित जोता यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
चित जोरा यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
चित जोता यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
चित जोरा यशोदा की बात, नवनीत जोर गोपाल।
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 नवनीत जोर गोपाल। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
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 ओम या देवी सर्वभूतेषु साकारूपेण संस्थिता, नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। या देवी सर्वभूतेषु दयारूपेण संस्थिता, नमस्तस्यै 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 नमो नमः। ओम नमस्तुते व्यास विशाल बुद्धे पुलाद बृंदायत पत्र नेत्र, येना त्वया बालत पंकजं कलिमल प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमय प्रदीप। ओम नमो विष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री विष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री विष्णवे नमः। वामे रेते का महल का राजा, जिसमें उनके का भगवान विष्णु का प्रार्थना पूजन करने बहुत इच्छा का तीर करने वाले, उसका बिनती कुछ पीर पीते का उपवास करने वाले, सप्ताह सप्ताह तीरे हे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
Tonight the katha begins. And so Yogi Raj Narad, this divine sage, this being who needs no introduction, a person whom we are all very familiar with, Narad Muni. Narad Muni, he's sitting in front of Lord Vishnu. And Narad Muni, what catches his attention is the chakra, the spinning wheel in the hand of Lord Vishnu. And seeing this chakra, Narad begins to inquire. He says, have you ever used this chakra? for anything mischievous? Have you ever used this chakra for anything mischievous? Listen to the question. Have you ever used the chakra for anything mischievous? Or to discipline a person who is mischievous? Listen to the question. Have you ever used something that you have to do mischief? Maybe your phone. There's some people who are so idle that they spend their whole life on their phone, talking about other people and other people's business and things that have no concern to them. They spend their whole life on the telephone, talking about other people, and they have forgotten to live and enjoy their existence. And Jai be Akela, they die and they go, and all you remember in their eulogy is Phonika. That's the Rasi name you have to give to them, Phonika. Only phone. Yogi Raj Narad sits there and asking the beautiful question. Lord Vishnu begins to think, and thinking like this, Lord Vishnu begins to tell the katha. What is he saying? Listen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. वरदान रहते कि महान राजा हो, उन्हीं का भगवान विष्णु के पूजन करते। देख और बहुत इच्छा का तीर करने तीनों रातों दिन का भगवान विष्णु की प्रार्थना उन्हों का दे। देखते का पूजन करने। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय।
The katha begins by saying, at one time there lived a great king. Now, every time we are privileged to listen to the katha is always talking about a king, it is always talking about a queen, it is always talking about somebody whom you and I will consider to be a person of status. It always talks about a person whom we will consider to be great. Where can you find a king? Where can you find a king? Papa Malu, where can I find a king? Prabhu, where can I find a king? Ashish, where can I find a king? Pointing me, boy? Tonight I want to tell you that we live our whole lives considering ourselves to be inferior and considering others to be superior. We live our whole lives thinking that we'll never be good. We'll never be good enough. We spend our whole existence putting ourselves down by the way we think and by the way we speak about our own selves. One of my birds flew out the cage thanks to somebody who didn't fix the latch properly. And I'm restless because of the bird. Restless. I spent the evening out in the rain trying to get the bird off a tree 40 foot high in the sky. And after I failed, I'm coming back home and I'm walking and my head is down. And one of the neighbors looked at me. She said, "Hey, you the pundit?" And I said, "Yes, I'm the pundit." "Why are you bending your head and walking?" I said, "Well, I'm a little bit disturbed. My bird is up on a tree." She said, "That's fine. Look at where your bird is. Up where everybody could see it. And look at where your face is, down on the ground, where nobody could recognize you. When you walk, you must lift your face with pride, whether what life has thrown out to you, and smile through it all." And I looked at her and in my mind I said, maybe words of wisdom that fits perfectly into the katha this evening. We must lift ourselves by the way we walk, by the way we talk, by the way we dress, by the company and the association that we keep. We must lift ourselves, we must shine, we must polish ourselves by ourselves. And so, this king, he had a great desire. A great king had a great desire. And his desire was to perform worship to Bhagwan Vishnu. Having this great desire to perform worship to Bhagwan Vishnu, the king he did something. What did he do? Listen. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 उसने बिनते कुछ कही तीर तीर का उपवास करने वाले देखो की प्रार्थना समय भगवान की विष्णु प्रार्थना उन्होंने का विचार देखो धन्य में भोजन करते चलते हैं भोजन करता चलते हैं. The king made a vow that he will fast and he will observe worship the Bhagwan Vishnu for 3 days and 3 nights. Listen to the vow that he made, that he will fast and he will perform worship to Bhagwan Vishnu for 3 days and 3 nights. Earlier, in the very beginning of the puja, I was not here, but I know that Pandit Satnarayan gave you some leaves and some flowers and some rice grains and some supari and some coin in your hand, and he started Vishnu, Vishnu, Vishnu. I'm hereby making this vow. I'm hereby making this promise. I'm hereby signing this contract and making this commitment that for 9 days and 9 nights I will sit here at this altar and I will worship. And so I'm inviting Lord Ganesh, I'm inviting Gauri Mata, I'm inviting Lord Shiva, I'm inviting the Nograha, I'm inviting Kalash Varun Devata, I'm inviting the presence of Guru, I'm inviting the presence of Agni Devata, I'm inviting the presence of Chatushta Yogini, I'm inviting the presence of Tulsi Mata, and so please come and stay. I'm making this vow to you. The king made a vow that he will fast and he will pray. What is fasting? What is fasting? Have you ever heard that word before? Fasting? What is fasting? Fasting comes beginning with a very familiar word, fast. Fasting. What is fasting? Is fasting what we put in our stomach? Is fasting what we put in our mind? Is fasting only what we put in? Or does it have something to do with what comes out as well? Fasting. While there are many people busy fasting and thinking that they're impressing God, I don't eat salt and I don't eat flour. Well, good for you. Flour expensive now. Actually, nobody spoke about that. And I don't eat this, and I don't eat onion, and I don't eat garlic, and you like a rakshas. Make any sense? Fasting is not only what you put in, but fasting is what you give out. He made a vow to fast for 3 days and 3 nights. And his fast, the promise, the vow that he made is that he will not eat and he will not drink. I always encourage when we have the Yagna, especially to the mean people, that you should fast. You should give up. Give up some of the things that you like the most, like salt and plenty food and chunky. Give up. And this is an investment you're making not in your body, but for your soul, for when that will come. Making this vow that he will fast with no food and no drink. He spent his time fasting and praying. And while praying, one day, in his fast, a thought comes to his mind. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. उपवास और प्रार्थना करने ही समय उसके कामे विचाका आए का धान्य में भोजन करते चलते हैं भोजन में करते चलते श्री परमात्मने नमः. In his mind, he plotted a plan. I am not eating and I am not drinking. And so, in order to break this fast now, I must do something. उन्होंने का सभी पृथ्वी पर का सुनो का संतों की देक और देवता की ब्राह्मण रूप करने वाले संत समाज की महल हो जानते. He decided that he will invite all the holy people, the brahmanas and the saints and the sages and the rishis, and he'll invite all the holy people to come. And so the holy people will be fed. And so after they would have been given bhojan, then he will eat and then he will break his fast. This is how he planned to celebrate his fast, to bring it to an end. Long ago, when there was a Bhagavad and a Yagna, the sadhus and the old people will tie up their jhori from home, and they will come on bicycle, and some will come walking, and some will hike a drop, and they will all come to the Yagna Shala, and they will stay in that place where the Yagna is happening. Do you know? They will stay in the place where the Yagna was happening. In the daytime, while cooking is happening in the kitchen and thing, they will go by the pipe and they will wash their dhoti and they will hang it up like ornaments all over to dry. You hear Yagya and you hear Yagya Shala, you say, me ain't spending no night. I like my bed. I go home and I go come back early in the morning. You won't go even miss me. That's what we say. He invited all the saints and the sages and the rishis and the munis. Where can we find a saint? Where can we find a sage? Where can we find a muni? Where can we find a rishi? Some people have those names and you can't find them in a single yagya, in a single puja. Too much prayers. Too much. Do you know you are the rishis? Do you know you are the munis? Do you know you are the devis? Do you know you are the devatas? Do you know that you did not come here by guess, but you came here because Bhagwan ordained you to be here? Do you know that your name is written on the chair that you are sitting on? And just as Baba chanted the mantras to invite the devatas to come, Dev chanted the mantras by giving an invitation so that everybody will come. See? And so planning like this, what will happen? Inviting all the saints and the sages, they all came. And so coming, great preparations were made for them. And as great preparations were made, listen, it tells us, Narayana, Narayana, Jai Govinda Hare, Narayana Shri Narayana, Jai Gopal Hare. Sing with me, everybody. Narayana, Narayana,
Jai Govinda Hare, Narayana Shri Narayana, Jai Gopal Hare.
With all your love, sing with me, everybody. Narayana, Narayana, Jai Govinda Hare, Narayana Shri Narayana, Jai Gopal Hare.
Narayana, Narayana, Jai Govinda Hare, Narayana Shri Narayana, Jai Gopal Hare.
श्री विष्णवे नमः. ऋषि दुर्वासाए का बेटे गिर और उसके समय का जब भोजन का देख और वर्णन का दुर्वासा उन तीर का उन कथा का उसमें का अभी ने सकते का मुझके का फल स्नान करेंगे नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे नारायण श्री नारायण जय गोपाल हरे
नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे नारायण श्री नारायण जय गोपाल हरे.
All the sages and saints came and they were all given beautiful seats to sit upon. And so coming to this gathering was the great sage Durvasa Rishi. And so Durvasa Rishi, he sat there. And so talking was happening and they all acquainted themselves with each other. And so they were enjoying each other's company. But then the time came when the food will be served. And so the fast will come to an end. And the great king, after feeding all of the rishis and the munis and all of the holy people, then he will eat. And so then his fast will be considered to be complete. We are taught, according to scripture, that when we host a function, we should never sit by the table and eat first. But we should allow all our guests to eat first. And if there is nothing remaining, then we eat nothing. But we make sure that our guests, they eat. Our food is called tukari. We cook enough to eat and to carry. So that when the guest comes, in the event that they did not get to cook at home, they can take something with them. We can give something to them. When we give, we purify what we have. We do not give with the intention of getting, but we give with the intention of purifying what we have. And anything that we do with purity, it multiplies on its own. And so, Durvasa Rishi sat there. And so as the food was about to be served, the aroma of the food filled the entire atmosphere. And so everybody became hungry just by the smell that came from the bhog, just by the smell that came from the food. Sometimes after fasting, and while sitting to perform the puja, when the Persad come in front of you, your belly make a little noise, and your tongue begin to water. True or not? You're offering the sweet rice on the Bedi, and Pandit chanting the mantra, and you say, oh God, this thing looking good. In your mind, this thing looking good, boy. Can't wait to taste some of this. And at that time, you begin to crave for it. And then days after the puja, you say, wait now, I didn't even taste the sweet rice. I wanted to taste it. And then I don't know what happened and I didn't taste it. Durvasa Rishi sat there. And so as the aroma filled the entire atmosphere, everybody became hungry suddenly. And so then, as the food was about to be served, Durvasa Rishi stood up. And standing up with authority, Durvasa Rishi spoke. And as Durvasa Rishi spoke, what he said? He says, I'm willing to eat. I'm hungry. I know everybody is hungry here. But you know what? I can't eat yet. I must have a snan. I must bathe. I must purify myself first before I eat. And so, wait for me. Nobody shall eat until I come back. Ever had that problem? Waiting for your husband to eat and he say, wait, I have to bathe first. And then you have a next problem because when he goes into the bathroom with his phone, then he forgets that anybody else exists. Isn't it? There's some wives, they say, I will not eat until my husband come home. And I say, why? And they say, well, I love my husband. Well, good for you. I don't think that that is love. I will not classify that as love. Because I'm sure that if he gets hungry, he's going to eat without you. I'm sure. I'm positive. Unless you're well trained like Ishwar, who will eat here and then go and eat somewhere else. Eat home and say it tastes good. Durvasa got up and with authority he spoke. And Durvasa says, do not eat without me. I'm going to bathe. And when I come back, we will all enjoy food together. And as Durvasa Rishi uttered these words, what will happen? Listen. वाह जिसमें का चलते गए नदी पर का नदी का पर देने वाले देखो चलते गया होते स्नानम करने ए सभी का ब्रह्मांड का ऋषि कहे पे परीक्षित का करने ही देखो सभी का बहुत भूख तीर करने वाले बहुत का भूख तीर करने श्री परमात्मने नमः. Durvasa Rishi went to the river, and as Durvasa Rishi started to bathe, enjoying the water, Durvasa Rishi forgot about food and forgot about everybody waiting for him, and he started to enjoy the bath. It is scriptural. It is recommended by scripture that occasionally we must all go to the beach and take a bathe. Do you all know that? We must all go to the river and take a bath. And by doing this, we replenish our bodies. We absorb positive energy and expel negative energies, etc. And it is scriptural. And scripture has taught us this. Why? Because even scripture has taught us that there is a time called Ganga Dashera where you will go to the river and you will bathe. Isn't it? There is a time called Kartik Nahan. But you know what we say? We don't say Nahan. We say Kartik Snan. Snan means to bathe. We don't say nahan, we say snan, because when you go, you think Kartik, the first thing you're thinking about is beach clothes. Huh? Not too much depressed, not too much puja. You're thinking I have to bathe when I go, isn't it? Long ago, it was a tradition that when you had a little free time, everybody will jump in their car, especially in the south, and we will go to Queenam and take a bathe in the muddy water. You all know? In the mud. Or we will go somewhere and just take a quick bathe and everybody will come back. It was a tradition in our family that almost every Sunday they will go and they will get a shed. They probably had to put the name of my family on that shed. Immediate and extended, because it was a whole hullabaloo, you know. Everybody going. The children and the grandchildren and the neighbor children and the friend children and everybody going. Now we do things selfishly and not selflessly. We go by ourselves. We don't tell anybody. We don't share the idea. We don't take anybody with us. We enjoy for ourselves and we don't share the enjoyment, the pleasure with others around us. Durvasa Rishi enjoying the water, forgetting all about everybody waiting for him. What will happen? Listen, it tells us. Narayana, Narayana, Jai Govinda Hare. Narayana, Sri Narayana, Jai Gopal Hare.
Narayana, Narayana, Jai Govinda Hare. Narayana, Sri Narayana, Jai Gopal Hare.
श्री परमात्मने नमः। एक होरे का ब्राह्मण बोले का राजा, जिसमें का तुम धुलार का पल उसके का उपवास का तोड़ करने वाले नहीं का पाप हो गया है, यहाँ का पाप हो गया है। श्री परमात्मने नमः। Just then, an old Brahmana who could no longer tolerate his hunger, he stood up and he looked at the king. And the old Brahmana says, King, you must break your fast at once. And you know why he's saying that? You know why he's saying that? Because he's hungry. That's why he's saying that. He's giving the advice because he's hungry. You must break your fast at once. For if you do not break your fast now, it will be considered a mahapap. Mahapap means a great sin. Listen to how convincing he is. You must break your fast now. And if you don't break your fast now, it will be considered a great sin. If I tell you to do something, Dave, and you refuse to do it, and then I say to you, you know, Dave, if you don't do that, it is a mahapap, a great sin. What will you do? What will you do? You'll be convinced to do it, isn't it? Your conscience now doesn't permit you not to do what you had already made up your mind not to do. Because now you're thinking it is a great sin. So the king, hearing the words of this old Brahmana, the king, he paused for a minute. And pausing for a minute, listen to what the king replies. Listen to what he says. Raja Durvasa ka rishi ka ghas mein bhare ka jante, दुरन का उसके का सोच कया होते, उसने का दुर्वासा का बिना कया हो, निर्वास हो जाएंगे। नारायण नारायण जय गोविंद हरे। नारायण श्री नारायण जय गोपाल हरे। Brahmana, he says, who invited you to come here? Who invited you? And so the old Brahmana says, you invited me. The king says, well, just as I invited you, I invited Durvasa Rishi and all the other rishis. But have you ever heard about Durvasa before? He's asking, have you ever heard about Durvasa before? Have you ever heard that name, Durvasa, before? Durvasa Rishi is a rishi who was known because of his temperament. Because he became angry for everything and nothing too. That's what he was known for becoming angry all the time, for everything. pettiest, most insignificant thing, Durvasa Rishi became upset for. And so the king says, thinking about the temperament of Durvasa Rishi, I don't want to do anything to offend him. And so we should wait until he comes back. We should wait, we should remain put. And so when he comes, then we will all eat. And I don't mind if it is a Mahapap. I prefer to incur sin than to have Durvasa Rishi vex with me. I prefer to commit a sin than to have Durvasa Rishi vex angry with me. How do you feel when people are vexed with you? Actually, let me ask you the most logical question. Who is affected when they are vexed with you? If you are vexed with somebody, how does that affect them? How does that affect them? If you are angry with me, how does that affect me? How is that going to affect me? The only person that is affected by your anger is, you know who? Because while you rugging and rolling, and moaning and groaning and vexed with somebody, them powder up and put on lipstick and liming and having a good time. Put on a nice pajama. I'll take one with mine tonight. And post it up on Facebook and you having a good time and they vex. They're mad with you. We live in a society, we live in a time where people who do the wrong things, they sit down and they want to play victim. They're the victims. And the victim now have to feel sorry for you have to feel sorry for them. Durvasa Rishi, he's bathing and enjoying the water. And while bathing and enjoying the water, something is about to happen. What will happen? The old Brahman now becomes upset. He becomes angry. And he says, you're studying, you're paying heed to Durvasa when he gets mad. What about me? I am a holy man too. What if I get mad? What will happen? And the king smiles. And as the king smiles, he says, then if you are a holy man and you're getting upset, then you give me an advice. You tell me what to do. What is the way forward? You tell me. And so the king requesting like this, the old Brahman begins to speak. What will he say? Listen. Bolo Shri Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram. Bolo.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram. Clap your hands.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Brahman neki, ojar neki, dekar vachan nari. Raja teri, sunkar teri, is din utar deri. Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
The old Brahman says, well, if you're afraid to eat because you're afraid of the anger of Durvasa Rishi, then break your fast by drinking something. Drink something then. Don't eat, drink. You know, there are some people, they say, well, I'm fasting and you know, I'm not eating anything that is, but you know, I could drink because it is made from sugar cane and it is made from fruits and it is made from... Have you ever heard that before? Or is it just me? Did you ever hear that before? And that will flush out your system, and by morning when you get up, you're new and clean again. And Baba, that's sugar cane. If you like sugar cane, cut a piece of sugar cane and have it. Don't use an excuse to justify your wrong actions. The old Brahman convinces the king that you should drink some water. And as the king places the lota, he's drinking from a lota. Listen, have you ever drunk from a lota before? Have you ever drunk from a lota before, Ravi? And Yanji, ever drink from a lota before? Did you? You better than me. As he places the lota to his mouth and he's about to drink, you know what happened? All hell is about to break loose. Something happens. Durvasa kaha moti dekar lota pani deka Raja Durvasa ka deke krodha nehi adanga Bolo Sitaram, Sitaram, Sitaram Jai Siyavar Ram Bolo
Sitaram, Sitaram, Sitaram Jai Siyavar Ram
Durvasa ka turantai apna chakra dekhi Raja tera dinakali ka bhukan Raja dekhi Bolo Sitaram, Sitaram, Sitaram Jai Siyavar Ram
Sitaram, Sitaram, Sitaram Jai Siyavar Ram
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam Jai Siyavar Ram Bolo
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam Jai Siyavar Ram
Durvasa Rishi walked in at that time when the king placed a lota by his mouth. You ever try to hide and eat something and you get catch? Huh? I'll give you an example. You're sitting in a congregation, maybe in temple or church or the mosque or somewhere, and your throat begins to tickle you. Have you ever experienced that before? Your throat begins to tickle you, and then singing and all sorts of things is happening, and talking is happening, and then you decide to put your hand in your purse and pull out the dynamite. And as soon as you begin to rattle the paper, the place gets quiet. And then all you hear is coach, coach, coach. And then everybody turn and watch you. And then you look at them and you say, who doing that? Have you ever done that before? Have you ever done that before? Hello, when you're in puja, don't lie. Have you ever done that before? You get catch. Durvasa Rishi, as soon as the king placed the lota to his mouth, Durvasa Rishi walks in. And Durvasa Rishi doesn't ask a single question. He said, "Ain't I tell you, wait for me?" You may expect somebody to wait for you, and they never wait for you. This morning, the Swami told his wife, "Wait, I want to drop by the Pandit." And she, when he came outside after locking up the house, no wife, no car, no nothing. So he called her. And he says, "Where are you?" And she said, "Well, I'm late for work, so I'm on my way." He said, "I tell you, wait, I want a ride. I go in too." She said, "Well, I didn't understand what you say. I didn't understand what you said." So he's asking me, what you understand by what I say? I say, what I understand is I'm not getting involved in you and your wife business. That's what I understand by this whole thing. But promise me that when you go home, you don't go in this anger. And even though you go in this anger, you do not say anything that you will regret. Bite your tongue. It has already happened. It could be innocent. Sometimes we expect people to understand what we think or what we say. Why you are looking at me? Sometimes we expect, they say to me that when I'm doing the puja, especially like if I'm singing the chalisa or something, and I will ask for something, I will give a sign. They tell me all my sign is the same sign, so they don't know what I'm talking about. So they say I give the same sign for everything, and they don't know what I'm talking about. And when they don't bring or do what I'm asking or requesting, I get mad, I get upset. And they say they don't know how, they can't read what I'm saying. As soon as he places the cup, the lota to his mouth, Durvasa out of anger, seeing this, did I not say to wait for me? And so the king At the loss for words, Durvasa dips his hand in his jewelry. And you know what Durvasa has? Durvasa has been blessed with a chakra by Lord Vishnu. Listen to how, though he was a very angry being and a very hostile, arrogant being, he was blessed. He received a Varadan, and listen to what he got. He got a chakra from Lord Vishnu, a replica of the chakra. Durvasa Rishi immediately dipped his hand down in his jewelry and pulled out his chakra. And out of vexedness, he sent it towards the king. Think about this. A king who invited everybody out of his goodness. He didn't have to invite anybody. And so listen to what happens. And now the king begins to run. But where will he go? Where can the king go to hide from this divine weapon? Listen. Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram. Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
दुख का राजा लगे करते विष्णु लोकादेका भगवान देहि विष्णु देहि देकर रक्षानंता. बोलो सीता राम सीता राम, सीता राम जय सियावर राम.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
राधे श्याम राधे श्याम, राधे श्याम जय सियावर राम.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
The king immediately rushed, and rushing where the king will go, he goes to Vishnu Lok, the abode of Bhagwan Vishnu. Going to the abode of Bhagwan Vishnu, he bows to the feet of Lord Vishnu and he says, Lord Vishnu, protect me, protect me. And much to his surprise, when the king turns around, the chakra has disappeared. But looking and seeing Bhagwan Vishnu, Lord Vishnu now, Dukan Raja Binka Deki Vishnu Dekar Chalta Dekar Apa Durvasa Ka Dekar Nash Dikaya. Now, Lord Vishnu takes his chakra and he sends it now in the direction of Durvasa Rishi. And now Durvasa Rishi has to run. And where is he going? Brahma Loka, Shiva Loka, Vishnu De Bhagavanta, Vishnu Bole, Apna Shodhe, Dekar Apne Ananta. Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram. Bolo.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Durvasa Rishi, seeing the chakra coming towards him now, it's his own weapon that he had. Seeing it coming towards him, Durvasa begins to run now. And where is he going? He's going to Brahma Lok, he's going to Shiva Lok, and he's going now to Vishnu Lok. And why is he going to the Lokas? Because Brahma says, I can't help you, go away from here, before that destroy me too. Lord Shiva says, I can't help you, go away from here before the chakra destroys me too. And then he goes to Lord Vishnu, this is yours. Has something you consider to be prized ever caused pain to you? The nice knife that you buy in the kitchen. One day you're peeling the mango and you peel off a piece of your finger too. Huh? Has that ever happened to you before? And so Durvasa, the very same weapon he threw is the same weapon coming back to him. What you throw out into the world is what the world will throw back to you. Have you ever heard that before? Be careful of what you put into the world, because that is what you will get out of it. And so Durvasa Rishi, reaching to Vishnu Lok, Durvasa Rishi bows to Bhagwan Vishnu. Apani Shrudha Bhakta Prana Dekar Deva Shama Chama Deka Deva Sakta Hi Ka Data. Bolo Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram Jai Siyavar Ram. Bolo.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram,
Lord Vishnu says to Durvasa, he says, I threw the chakra. The chakra belongs to me. But the only way that this chakra will stop chasing you and will not cause pain to you is you can't bow to me. You have to go and bow to the person whom you created problems with and you caused pain to. And so go to the king and bow to the king, Durvasa Rishi, and ask him for forgiveness. Don't ask me. And so Durvasa Rishi rushed to the king and back into the kingdom. What will happen? Listen, it tells us. Durvasa ka raja deki danvat pranam deka chakra deka duka dehi sacha upakara bhakti shakti dekar dehi dekar Durvasai Vishnu deka raksha dehi pujan dehi karta. Bolo Sitaram, 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 Jai Siyavar Ram. Bolo
Sitaram, 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 Jai Siyavar Ram.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Radhe Shyam, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Durvasa Rishi rushes to the king, and rushing back to the king, he falls, Danvat Karo, he falls flat on the ground, and bowing to the king. What will happen? He begins to ask for Kshama, for forgiveness, and asking for forgiveness, the chakra disappears, and so Durvasa gets up, and after hugging the king, Durvasa says, now I know the power of true fasting and true devotion. And so recognizing the power of this, now can we eat? We are all very hungry. Listen to what Durvasa is saying now. The man who was most upset, he says, can we all eat now? I'm very hungry. Tonight, I want to just pause. Actually, tonight I want to take you. The king went to Vishnu Lok because he saw the chakra and he could identify the chakra to be that of Lord Vishnu, and Lord Vishnu lives in Vishnu Lok. A king lives on the earth. He goes to Vishnu Lok. He goes to Vishnu Lok. Tonight, I want you to just put your hands together. And I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Close your eyes. And I want you to visualize. Visualize with me that you're standing by an ocean. But this ocean is no ordinary ocean. This ocean is an ocean of milk. All you're seeing in front of you is milk. White. And now, you're seeing Seshnag, this serpent upon which Lord Vishnu, he rides. And so you're seeing Lord Vishnu seated on the snake, and you're seeing Mahalakshmi. Stretch your hands mentally and bow to Lord Vishnu. Now think for a moment. You're leaving that ocean and you're going to a place called Mount Kailash. Visualize that place to be a mountain top. Think of any mountain. But that mountain top is covered with snow. Think about it. Lord Shiva is seated there with his serpent around his neck. Maybe you're afraid of the snake. Don't go too close. But stay a distance away. And seated next to Lord Shiva is Devi Mata. Visualize Lord Shiva tonight. And you're seeing Lord Shiva and he's smiling. Bow to him mentally. Now, we leave Shivalok and we go to a place called Brahmalok. Brahma has 4 heads. Brahma has white beards and golden crowns on his head. And Lord Brahma is wearing a yellow dhoti and he's fair in complexion. He's wearing the Rudraksha mala around his neck. Think about Lord Brahma for a moment. And seated next to him is Mother Saraswati. Bow to Lord Brahma and bow to Mother Saraswati mentally. And bowing to them, as you stand in front of Mother Saraswati, remember to send it a prayer to her. Ask her. Talk to her quickly. Tell her, Mother Saraswati, bless me, bless my children, bless my home. I beg of you, shine through me to the world around me, O Mother Saraswati. And now, you're about to leave Brahmalok. Now you come back into the Yagyashala. Open your eyes and sing with me. Bolo Shri Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Jai Siyavar Ram.
Sita Ram, Sita Ram,
रक्षा देयदारा एक रूपासानंता बोलो सीताराम 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 जय सियावर राम बोलो
सीताराम 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 जय सियावर राम.
Tonight we listen to this king going to Vishnu Lok. When you think about going to Vishnu Lok, you think about running and you think about every one of us. We went to Vishnu Lok tonight. Do you know? Lord Vishnu, Vishnu Lok is the Chira Sagar, the Milky Ocean. Lord Vishnu is seated on the Seshnag, the serpent. Mother Lakshmi is there squeezing his foot. And Lord Vishnu, you went there tonight. Did you go? You went there? We all went to Shiva Lok tonight. Did you go to Shiva Lok? We went to the mountain top where Lord Shiva is. We visualized Lord Shiva. We saw him. We bowed to him. And then we left him. Did you do that? Did you see Lord Shiva when you close your eyes? Then we went to Brahma Lok. I gave a description of Lord Brahma because you might know what to expect and what, because you have not seen a murti or an emblem or an image of Lord Brahma. So I gave a description of what you should expect. And in your mind, you visualize Lord Brahma, isn't it? But then you saw Mother Saraswati, somebody who you could identify. Saraswati Devi is the consort of Lord Brahma, the wife of Lord Brahma. And then you bowed to her and you spoke to her. Did you talk to Mother Saraswati? Papa Malu, did you talk to Mother Saraswati? Did you go to Brahma Lok physically? Did you go physically? You went? The katha says that the king went to Vishnu Lok. He didn't run to Vishnu Lok. He went to Vishnu Lok because immediately he started thinking of Lord Vishnu. And Lord Vishnu lives in this place called Vishnu Lok. When life throws troubles, when life throws situations, when problems and calamities come our way, you don't have to change your religion, you know. You don't have to go anywhere. You don't have to go in the temple or the church or the mosque to find God, you know. You know where God is? God is here first. And if you can't from here recognize God here, then you will never recognize God anywhere else. Isn't it strange? You live your whole life as a Hindu, and then one day some man confuse your soul and tell you that your God is not a good God, and he come and root out all your jandi that you plant. I think you should root it out yourself. You know why you don't go and root it out? Because you're afraid. Because in your mind you know that you're doing the wrong thing. In your mind, you're convinced that you're doing the wrong thing. But still, look how foolish you are. You have a problem. But you know who gave you that problem? And who is the source of your problem? God. You're blaming God. Think about that. You're blaming God. God is my problem. God is not Durga. God is not Lakshmi. God is not Lord Hanuman. God is not Lord Shiva. God is none of those things. God is something else. And then when you have trouble there, you know what will happen? You see two jandi back in your yard again. Because then you come back. Because God is the source of your trouble. And you know what's the source of your trouble? The way you think. That's the source of your trouble. The poison that you put in your mind is the source of your trouble. The confusion that you allowed yourself to fall into is your trouble. We live our whole lives fighting who God greater and which God better. I have news for you. There is only one God. I have news for you. We were all born into a religion because you know why? There was supposed to be some kind of guidance to guide you, to remind you that life is not only to eat, drink, make merry, and when dead bury, but to find peace and to make peace with that being called God, and to build a relationship with God, recognizing that God doesn't only live in the heaven. God lives on the earth through the people you could see and the people you could touch, and the same people you don't like, that's God too. But you know what? We have become blinded and confused. We have become so ignorant that we blame even God. We blame our own religion that we were born into. We say, my religion is the cause of my trouble. Can your religion cause trouble? Hinduism is one of the sweetest religion that you could ever embrace. True or not? So sweet that everything you get in it sweet. Persad, lapsi, korma. I said to Swami, I said for the whole week, this week, I will only drink a shake. And I'm going to have a shake, and that is going to be my meal for the week. And I'm going to fast with no salt. And I'm going to tell Dave and Cindy and all of these ladies here that no salt. And when I say no salt, I'm not saying food that is cooked without salt. That is not fasting. I'm saying have a fruit, have some milk, and Narayan, Narayan. If you die, we know what to do with you. But you made a vow for 9 days and 9 nights you will fast. And that is what we will do. And I said to Swami, I said, that's what I'm going to have. He said, yeah, well, I'll go when they're making it and I'll put some Persad and a laddu and a barfi and a gulab jamun and make sure they make this smoothie with it. Because when you see those things, you know, you have no control. You grab a little piece and a little piece, and by the time you eat a little piece of everything, you eat a mountain. So I'll put it in your smoothie. I want to tell you that everything that is unfolding around you is unfolding because Bhagwan, God is trying to teach you a lesson. God is trying to awaken the powers that you have in you. He's trying to remind you that your existence is not just to exist, but to make a difference. He's trying to remind you that I chose you to give you the trouble, because you know why? You're strong enough, and I want to use you as the example. I want to use you as the vessel. I want to use you as the vehicle to teach a lesson to all of those around. And that's why He chose. That's why He chose. So when you think that God doesn't like you and God is not just for you, it is God working for you, with you, and through you to teach the whole world a lesson. When there is suffering and sickness in a family, it's not for that family alone, but it's for the other families too. To recognize that this could happen to my family too. When there is a death in somebody else's home, it is an awakening for you to remind you that you could die too. Anytime, you could cut off. Do you all know that? Do you all know that? Dave, you could cut off anytime. Dave, what can happen when you cut off, boy? Let me tell you what can happen. You ain't gonna know, because you cut off. But until that time, remember the switch is still on. And while the switch is still on, there are a million things for us to be grateful for and to say thank you for. And whether what religion you belong to, be the best you that you can be. There isn't a single religion in this world that could take you to God, but it's your belief and your trust in your religion that helps you to find God. And this evening I want to tell you that if you're a Christian, be the best Christian you can be. If you're a Muslim, be the best Muslim you can be. And if you're a Hindu, be the best Hindu that you can be. But before being any of those things, be the best human being you can be. And before you could love a God that you have never seen but only heard of, let us learn to love those who we can see around us. And let us learn to say thank you to those who we can see and show appreciation and love. Satya Sanatan Dharma Ki Jai. Auntie Chan is going to sing the beautiful rendition of her choice. Panditji is performing the Havan, and I'll ask my teacher after the rendition to give her blessing in whichever way she chooses to, and then we will join in the closing arti.
Yagyadanam tapah karma natyajam kalyamevatat Yagyadanam tapaschaiva pavanani manishanam Prabhuji प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है सुख करता दुख हरता पावन परमात्मा प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है तूफान में जो कश्ती है वो भी जीवन एक उलझन है, बातों में न बस जाना, जिस राह में राम मिले उस राह में बस जाना। एक बार जो शरण में आता, एक बार जो शरण में आता, वो फूलन आत्मा है। सुख करता जो करता, पावन परमात्मा है। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है। झुकिया है अब ना करना, सब प्रभु को अर्पण करना। साधु की संग में रहना, सच की माला तो जपना। वो खाली झोली भरता, वो खाली झोली भरता, ऐसा परमात्मा है। सुख करता दुख हरता, पावन परमात्मा है। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है। सुख करता दुख हरता, पावन परमात्मा है। प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी, प्रभु जी सुख का सागर है। सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है, सुख का सागर है।
ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। अच्युतं केशवं कृष्णदामोदरम्, अच्युतं केशवं कृष्णदामोदरं, रामनारायणं जानकी वल्लभम्। Miss, there is just one condition. You don't tell them how bad of a student I was. The microphone is right here. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha.
Sitaram, everyone. Well, after Baba's katha, I am going to give you my katha. And my katha is, some years ago, well, you know, every year we have Form 1 student coming in school. Children who just write the common entrance, and they would come in the school in Form 1. And you know, some children, they come, they look so innocent. All the Form 1's children, they would look so innocent. And you know, I had a love for children. I still have that love for children. And I would just love these children in Form 1. Because they would not be so chanchal and miserable like when they go into Form 2 and Form 3. In Form 1, they are kind of, you know, innocent. So this student came some years ago, many years ago, not too long ago also. This student came in my class, and I was the Hindi teacher. And you know, when you are involved in the culture and the language, it takes, you know, you're going to it and it takes a toll on you. And you want to develop other people into your culture and show them the true form, the true culture. So teaching Hindi to these students, some wanted to learn and some were serious and some were just playful. And I would encourage them, look, you have to be serious in your work, eh? And then one day, one student came to me and he said, Miss, my grandfather was a pandit, you know. I said, really? Because I didn't know. He said, yes, my grandfather was a pandit. I said, all right, but listen, if your grandfather was a pandit, you ought to be serious in your Hindi language, because Hindi was being taught just like Spanish and English as a language, another language. I said, so you have to be serious in your Hindi language and don't come play the fool with me. Now I am going to look at you differently. And just as your grandfather was a pandit, you have to carry on that tradition and you have to maintain that culture. Now, sometimes we say something, we just say things, and then years later you will realize, well, you know, I have said this, and you know, you remember those words. And so I told him that I would never forget that day. I say, so you have to become a pandit to carry on this tradition and the culture, to teach it, the culture. And then he would do his lessons, and then sometime later on, he came to me and said, Miss, well, I get this thing wrong, you know. His grammar or something was wrong. And when I corrected it, he said, Miss, well, you know, I get this wrong. I said, listen, you have it wrong now, you got it wrong now. But let me tell you something. With practice, you will be perfect. So you just keep on practicing. Practicing is the greatest thing for success, and you got to practice. And I would never forget those 2 days. I would never forget those 2 days that I gave these instruction or these lessons to that student. Whenever I listen to this student, I feel so proud of him. My heart is filled with joy to know, as a person who involved in the culture, that we have someone in the younger generation to take it on further on. And now I present to you that student of those years, our great and beloved Panditji. I love him. I talk about him all the time. I always tell my children about this student that I had in school. And I always talk about those 2 experiences, those 2 days. I'm still teaching Hindi. I teach Hindi for Indian High Commission. And I encourage everybody that you should learn the language a little bit. Our parents knew it. And now our younger generation don't appreciate this language because they think it is something inferior to the different languages. But let me tell you, the Hindi and the Sanskrit language, Sanskrit is the mother of languages. And Hindi is considered the younger sister of Sanskrit. And we should make a little effort. We make effort to learn every other thing, but not our language, which would lead us to the culture. So, if we don't know the language, we would not understand, and that is how we would go astray, and we would go into other religion and things like that. But if you understand your culture, you will be firm in it. So Panditji, I also want to thank you for keeping that tradition, the tradition that our forefathers brought, and you're not doing the modern thing that most of our Pandits do, you know, and you maintaining that tradition, and I am so proud of you, and I know you would go a very long way. So thank you, Panji. This is my student of those days, Pandit Sunil Sitahal. Thank you.
Satya Sanatan Dharma Ki Jai. This has brought us to the end of our devotions this evening. We want to remind you that this is the first of 9 evenings of glorification to Bhagwan. The host and the hostess, they have named the Yagna a Gyan Yagna, where we'll be reading from the different various texts and glorifying Bhagwan in his multitude manifestations. So join with us tomorrow evening again from 7 until 9 as we continue to glorify Bhagwan. Let us all stand as we join in the closing arti. Deep Jyotir Para Brahma, Deep Jyotir Janadhara, Deepo Haratami Papam, Deepo Yamrati Gretam, Shantakaram Bhujagashenam, Parmanabham Surisham, Vishwadharam Gaganasarvisham, Megavaranam Subhagyam, Lakshmi Kantam Kamalanenam, Yogi Viryanamanyam, Bande Vishnu Bhave Haranam, Sarvaloke Kanatam, Om Jai Jagadish Hare, Swami Jai Jagadish Hare, भक्त जनों के संकट, दास जनों के संकट, जन में दूर करे। ओम जय जगदीश हरे। मात पिता तुम मेरे, शरण कहो किसकी, स्वामी शरण कहो किसकी, तुम बिन और न दूजा, प्रभु बिन और न दूजा, आस करो जिसकी।
ओम जय जगदीश हरे।
सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय मृत्योर्मामृतं गमय त्वमेव माता सविता त्वमेव बन्धुशशिखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेवाढ्यो शान्ति अन्तरिक्षं शान्ति पृथिवी शान्ति आम्बा शान्ति ओषधे शान्ति वनस्पते शान्ति विश्वदेवा शान्ति ब्रह्मा शान्ति सर्वं शान्ति शान्तिरेव शान्ति सामा शान्तिरिति भवतु। संतने की जय सियापति रामचंद्र की जय शरणम सीताराम 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 कहिए जाहि विधि रखे रामा जाहि विधि रखे रामा जाहि विधि रहे
सीताराम सीता